Good morning, welcome to NMS. So as I promised yesterday, I'm going to do a video talking about not just angles, okay, but I want to talk to you about the actual, the amount of flexion you get in your elbows versus the amount of flexion that you get in your shoulder joint, okay, and hitting the shoulders, the chest, and the triceps, okay. Now, first of all, we're going to go for chest, okay. So chest, we obviously know that you've got decline press hits the costal pec, flat hits most of the sternal pec, and the upper sternal pec and the upper chest area, we go up like that, okay? Not too difficult. A lot of people try to complicate it with all sorts of movements and presses that they've got their elbows down here. That's going to hit a lot more front delt, okay? Not as much sternal pec. You need to be going more like that to hit the sternal pec, okay? Now, where do I place my grip on? Let's say I'm doing a barbell or I'm doing dumbbells. Where do I want my grip, okay? With a barbell or a Smith machine, okay, I want it so my elbows, okay, are coming down like that, which means that my forearms are pointing straight to the ceiling, okay? And as you can see, when I do that, my chest works quite well, okay? And I don't even have to come together to make it work. It works even like that, okay? Now you see that, that would be the top of a bench press or near the top, okay? So having that sort of grip where your forearms are pointing straight up to the ceiling, that's the angle we want for your chest. And the reason that is because we take advantage of the fact that we don't get too much elbow flexion, but we also take advantage of the fact that what we're doing is now we're getting a good shoulder extension, okay? Now that is actually shoulder extension, that's shoulder flexion. A lot of people get that one confused. But what I like to do is, I like to get a nice stretch in my pec, right? And I do that by squeezing my shoulder blade and then opening my chest out, and then I press straight out. Now you see, that's working my chest, okay? If I want to hit the lower pec, I just obviously press that way. If I want to hit my upper pec, I press that way, okay? And as you can see, that's working. But my grip is just wider than shoulder width so that my elbows, okay, get underneath the bar, underneath my hands, and my forearms are pointing to the ceiling, okay? Even if you do dumbbells, okay, you come down on that sort of movement pattern, okay, and you push out like that. I don't touch dumbbells together. That then puts tension on the shoulder, okay? We don't want shoulder joint tension. So dumbbells, I don't even lock out, okay? Barbells, I don't lock out. Smith machine, I don't lock out. I may come close to locking out on some sort of converging chest press, but once again, I don't like the shoulder joint torque that I get from locking out. Now, if I go too wide, okay, if I'm out here, I don't get as much shoulder joint flexion or extension as I do if I'm there. So I don't get the same stretch if I go wider, okay? Now, yes, it does take my triceps out of it, but look at my bicep now. I'm putting a lot of tension on that bicep tendon, okay? And the bicep itself, because it has to stabilize the shoulder now. So the wider I go, the more problems I'm gonna have with, bicep tendonitis, okay? So if I go too wide on my bench press, bicep tendonitis, I go too narrow on my bench press, okay, look at the elbow flexion that I've got now, So I don't want too much elbow flexion, but I don't also want too much bicep stretch when I come down like that. I want to be like, yeah, the bicep's still going to stabilize the shoulder, but I don't want the bicep to be under a lot of strain in the bottom area, and that's what happens if you go too wide on your grip. Now, if we look at that from different angles, okay, if I do an incline press, once again, okay, I get maximum stretch on my chest when I do that. If I do it on decline, I get stretch as well, okay? So always the grip is somewhere a little wider than shoulder width so that your hand is over the top of your elbow. Perfect position to hit chest and take advantage of the triceps as well, okay? Because you're not going to take the triceps out, so you may as well take advantage of the fact that they're going to work with the movement, okay? And you get maximum stretch in the chest and also maximum flexion when you come up, okay? Now, shoulders. A lot of people go wide grip on shoulders, okay? Now, wide grip on shoulders doesn't work this front delt head. It's a little bit more side head, but it also puts a lot of tension on the AC joint and the glenohumeral joint, okay? Especially the glenohumeral joint because it goes out like that. So how do I prevent that? I bring my elbows in, okay? Now what I'm doing is, that muscle, that's my front delt, I press like that, okay? Now, with my military press, I come in, I get a full range of motion of that front head from, you know, the bottom position where my elbow is pretty much almost in line with my side, okay? And I'm pressing it right out. So now I get the deltoid to get a full contraction. Right, the other thing that I don't have a problem with that is the stability of the shoulder, because now I'm squeezing my shoulders in and I've got my sternal muscles, right? The muscles in between the shoulder blades. They're now contracting well, and my lower trap is stabilizing the shoulder and pulling the scapula down so I can press out, okay? That's the reason why we keep our elbows in for shoulder presses, and it also doesn't become more of a side delt head or start to go and get tension through the traps, okay? And that's what's going to happen when you do your dumbbell presses out wide like this. Strain through here, get trap strain, and all these muscles here starting to tighten up, and then you'll have pain all through your bicep tendon and all through your AC and through your glenohumeral joint, okay? These are the reasons why we grab with that sort of width that we do. Now, finally, if I want to turn my flat presses into a tricep movement, okay, I go narrow with my grip and I put my elbows in like that. Now I've got more elbow flexion, you see that? Okay, and now I'm pressing out with the triceps, okay? Simple. So when I'm doing it from front on, okay, that's a tricep press. That's a chest press. Now you see the difference? Yes, okay, the chest still works on that. You're not going to stop it. But you're getting more elbow flexion. So the more elbow flexion you get, the more triceps involvement you have, the less actual shoulder extension flexion that you get, because it's always somewhat flexed. You're getting a little bit more vertical flexion, right? Because that's vertical flexion, that, okay? But you're not getting that problem, right, where your chest is doing a lot of the work, because you're bringing it in and you're pressing it out with the triceps, okay? Out with the triceps. And that's why a close grip bench press can be very good for the triceps, okay? And similarly when you do dips, okay? So when you do a dip, you want to get more triceps, you keep yourself a bit more upright, you keep your grip a little bit closer, more elbow flexion, okay? But then when you go wider and elbows turned out, now you got chest flexion, okay? See, chest flexion, lower pec, okay? So you could do decline press or you could do a dip. Now this video is going to be a quite long one, so I appreciate if you've stayed to this point. What I want you to remember is when you're doing a movement, set yourself up to get the joint that you need to move to do the majority of the work. Chest, okay, shoulder flexion, okay, a little bit more vertical flexion if you want to hit the upper pec, a little bit more adduction, this is adduction here, if you want to get the lower pec, okay. Shoulders, okay, it's more vertical flexion, okay, direct vertical flexion. Triceps, okay, you're going to have a little bit of vertical flexion, but mostly, right, you're going to have elbow extension, okay. Simple as, guys. I know it sounds like, you know, there's a lot of complication in this and a lot of people do go and say, oh, this is a better movement than that one. But you've got to give the reasoning for why, okay? And it all does come to the setup. If you're doing a setup wrong, or if on your pressing movements you're doing mostly the top range, that's triceps and shoulders. That is chest, okay? So your chest works better in the lower range, your shoulders and triceps work better in the upper range. Thanks for listening, guys. Appreciate the support. Like, follow, share, and if you find this video quite helpful, give it to your friends so they can understand movement terminology and understand which joints are working for which muscle groups. Thanks for listening, guys, and I will see you next time.